As a kid, I used to lose my glasses all the time. I have really shitty eyesight. I know a lot of people say that, but I don't know anyone whose better eye is -11. My worst one is -14, for that matter, but it's not like you can feel a difference at this point. At anything below -10, the world becomes a palette of colors with shapes distinguishable only by intuition. I don't know how I ended up with royally fucked up genetics. Both of my parents only need reading glasses, and even that started only recently. My dad probably still wouldn't have found out if not for mandatory testing at his job. He is a sea captain. It doesn't come as a surprise that when I was a kid, I wanted to be like him. I found out that this wouldn't be possible very early on, so besides occasionally letting myself fantasize, I focused on my second biggest dream, which was water. I was a son of a sea captain, and if I couldn't conquer the ocean, I wanted to be swallowed by it. We are born wet. It's only natural that we crave it throughout life, being overjoyed at poor substitutes like warm baths and swimming pools. It's never been enough for me. We lived by the sea, which gave me plenty opportunities to try my chances at drowning. My parents weren't really happy with it, not because they were concerned for me. They were, of course, but I was a great swimmer. We were tight on money, though, and letting me swim in the sea meant having to buy a new pair of glasses every month at best. I lost them so often that most of my vague apologies blur together, along with fuzzy shape of my mother's disappointed face. I remember one time in particular, though, when I managed to not only lose my glasses, but also nearly drown. I was 7 at the time, and I was teasing the sea to come and get me with its enormous, greedy hands. I remember looking at my mom sunbathing at the shore one last time before the ocean grabbed me and refused to let me out. Before I even realized what was happening, the water ripped my mouth open and stormed in, making me swallow it. I was trapped, and even though I saw the light somewhere above me, it was far out of my reach, constantly getting covered by new surges of water. If I had been able to think clearly, I would have prayed, but there was no time for that. Soon enough, I saw my very first eclipse of the sun, as the light disappeared behind the shadow over me. The shadow then pulled me out of the water and held me close to its chest in a very tight grip. I heard my mom's voice repeating, "Oh my God," and "You're safe," over and over again straight to my ear. And as I wrapped my arms around her neck, I started to realize I had been very scared the whole time, so scared I let her carry me to the shore. I didn't cry, because the sea had already cried for me and left me all drenched in its tears. My mom got rid of them with a towel rough with sand. Even though I couldn't even see her face, I still remember how scared she was. I think that was the only time when she didn't scold me for losing glasses in the sea. Her voice was filled with worry, to the point that besides feeling scared, I felt embarrassed by making her feel this way. She kept saying she thought she lost me and that she loved me, and to be completely honest, I've never felt as loved as back in that moment, before or after. I stumbled all the time on our way home. I really missed my dad, but he was somewhere at the ocean, so spending time with him wasn't an option. I couldn't do much without the glasses, so after my mom made dinner, I listened to her reading me a book. I don't remember what book she read me, but I really wish I did. Nothing calmed me down as fast and made me asleep as easily as that book. I struggle a lot with insomnia, and I could really use some help. I fell asleep early that evening. The last thing I remember is her giving me a goodnight kiss as steady, secure darkness embraces me, my eyesight, and my dreams. My next memory is being woken up by front door being unlocked. It was the middle of the night, and I was a little afraid of the dark, but I got up and went to check what was happening in the hall. A person was standing there. When she saw me, she screamed. That scream would have scared you back to your room forever, but it only made me slightly confused. I would recognize my mom's voice everywhere. I just didn't understand why she kept asking me how I got home. I probably remember this so well because of how many times it's been recalled by me or one of my parents. It became a story to tell at parties or on dates. something in which people don't actually believe, but pretend to do so because it's still interesting. My parents are probably the only people who ever treated it seriously, mostly because for that whole day my mom was convinced I drowned in the sea or got kidnapped. She got home after she gave her statement to the police. I still sometimes wonder who rescued me and brought me home that day. I remember her face as an oval shape with 3 holes, just like I remember every face from the days without glasses. It could have been anything. Submitted by /u or Arioninsun link comments. I don't have a daughter. It first happened on a Wednesday. I was standing in the hallway, waiting for my son's art class to end. A woman I vaguely recognized, one of the other teachers, hurried over to me. "Your daughter's looking for you," she said. I blinked. I don't have a daughter." "Oh, sorry, I must have gotten mixed up." She smiled and headed back for her classroom at the end of the hall. I figured it was an honest mistake, especially considering that I'm a very average-looking woman with brown hair, brown eyes, and an average build. Probably half the kids in the class could be mistaken for my kid. But then it happened again. I was grocery shopping late at night, one of the only ones in the store. I heard the pattering of footsteps behind me, and when I turned around, one of the employees was running up to me. "Excuse me, ma'am," she called. "I think your daughter is looking for you." "She's at the I don't have a daughter," I said, cutting her off. "Are you sure?" Then she shook her head and nervously looked away. "Sorry, my mistake." She turned around and headed back down the aisle. Well, that was weird. What's the saying? If I had a nickel for every time someone thought I had a daughter, I'd have 2 nickels, which isn't much, but it's weird it happened twice. I finished up my shopping. When I got to the counter, I saw the employee at the end of the cashier lines, whispering to another employee. Weird. A few days went by and nothing happened. I'd almost completely forgotten about it when I got a call from my son's pediatrician. "Hello, Ms. Montgomery?" the receptionist asked. "I'm calling to schedule an annual physical for your daughter." "I don't have a daughter." "Oh, I'm terribly sorry. It says here," she cut off. "Never mind. Have a good day." I stared at my phone 3 times now. This felt really, really weird. How could so many people suddenly think I had a daughter? I told my husband all about it. He thought it was a hilarious coincidence and didn't seem nearly unnerved as I was. "Maybe the girl's mom looks like you, and she's describing her to the teacher and the cashier girl, and they think it's you." I guess that's possible. That doesn't explain the doctor, though. Maybe someone just moved here with a similar name. Maybe. The whole thing felt wrong, especially because I'd always had this weird feeling that I was meant to have a daughter. There was always this weird void somewhere inside me, a whisper that would surface every now and then. A daughter who looked like me, who I'd give all my wisdom to. Who would draw with me, play dolls with me, do all the girly stuff with. It was stupid, because gender didn't matter anyway, especially not when it came to loving my children. But there was still a strange emptiness I felt sometimes. Maybe I was pregnant one time with a girl and miscarried before I even knew it. That was an offhand thought I'd had several times, and the body remembers the score. On my lunch break the next day, I walked down to the local Panera. Halfway there, I heard someone calling out behind me. "Ma'am, ma'am." I turned around to see a man, looking frazzled. "Your daughter is back there calling for you." "I don't have a daughter," I said, my voice a weak thread. He turned around and pointed back as if I should go to her anyway. I looked up, and just for a second I saw a little brunette girl. Just slices of her through the group of people behind me. Ponytail bobbing, little blue dress, flickering through the chaos of the sidewalk. When the group passed, she was gone. I stood there, unable to move. The man had already hurried off, and I couldn't move. That's her. I knew I didn't have a daughter. I knew there was no way that was my child. I knew it. Then why do I feel like she's mine? After work, I drove to pick up the boys from school, but my head was somewhere else. I kept thinking of the girl. I knew it was crazy, but I couldn't stop thinking about her. I pulled up to the curb to let the boys in. The minivan door rolled open, but instead of the usual chaos, yelling and punching each other, there was only silence. And then, Mommy? Ice slid through my veins. It wasn't my boys, it was her. I'm not your mommy, I forced myself to say. I glanced in the rearview mirror to see a sliver of dark hair, a little ponytail, her face hidden out of view. Mommy, she said again. Oh God. It was fun to entertain the idea of an imaginary daughter, but hearing a different kid's voice calling me mommy was like a jolt of electricity. I'm not your mom, I yelled. I don't have a daughter. I glanced up at the mirror again. I froze. The girl had readjusted and I could now see her face. Her lack of face. Skin stretched over the contours of her skull. Only skin. And yet, as I stared at her, I could swear the way her cheeks moved. She was smiling. I screamed. A second later, Brady and Aiden crashed into the back, fighting as usual. I looked back at them, panicking, but the girl was gone. Shaking, I pulled away from the curb and started for home. Maybe I would have chalked it up to stress, sleep deprivation, something else. But every night now, I hear her voice. In the middle of the night, jolting me out of my dreams. Mommy, coming from the closet. Submitted by /U or Blair Daniels link comments. Pretty sure we weren't alone in the woods that night. The activity was unreal. Just a heads up, this is a vlog-style video of my friend and I walking in the woods at around 12 midnight and us hearing noises along the way. This will be part 1 of a series that I will be posting here. There will be a part 2 of this exploration that will come out later on today, and possibly part 3 as well. Stay tuned for the entire story in this video. My friend Will and I are walking in the woods because we were sent there by a creepy app that basically takes you to explore random locations based on an intention in your head. I don't think I believe in that, but it still always takes me to creepy locations. This was around midnight. The app took us to the middle of the woods, but we started at some trails, and as soon as we arrived, we started hearing snaps, and just throughout the walk, we kept hearing weird-ass noises. I've walked in the woods many times throughout my life, yet this one, whether it was animals or not, it was the most noises and loudest noises I've heard yet. These woods in PA are supposedly very haunted by some spirits. I really don't know, but look it up. You'll find a lot of information about haunted woods here. There are many legends about these woods. The video starts with us stopping by interesting old ruins. I would say dates back over 100 years. We checked it out real quick and continued to follow the map for our location from the app. Once we got to the location, all hell breaks loose. We were so paranoid at curtain points. It is pretty frightening being in that situation, especially when you're hearing all kinds of stuff around you, animals or not. Hope you enjoy this video and our interaction. Wait and see what we come across in the next part. Very weird and creepy. Submitted by /U or Terkiani's 90 link comments.